Hey, hello and welcome back again to another video tutorial of Roy's Academy. In this video tutorial, I'm going to discuss on a very important technology that has shape-changed the revolution of food processing era in way more unprecedented and unparalleled imaginations or dimensions that one could even possibly imagine. And also with the advent of the Western culture as well as influence of modern technologies, the increase in the habituation of in the habit of fast-forward livelihood as well as increase in the habit of fast food consumption as well as convenient or instant food consumption has increased so much, and this technology has proven to be the best and handsome solution as well as alternative to solve all these obstacles or all these demands out in the industries, and this technology has proven to be the most dominating technologies in the food processing domain globally nowadays. And so before going on to the detailed discussion about this technology, let me urge you people one thing. If you haven't subscribed this channel yet, please do positively subscribe my channel so that you won't miss up any tutorial video and science hacks of the food science and technologies as well as food nutrition and life science as well right when it comes up in my channel. So the topic of today's discussion is the science of extrusion. I guess most of you have been already acquainted with this extrusion terminology, or the food techs aspirants and the food techies particularly, and if you have, let me take you in a recap about the science hacks behind the process of extrusion, what exactly happens in the industries. So what's extrusion basically? Extrusion, as we know, is a multifunctional thermomechanical process. As the phrase suggests, it's a set of processes combining mixing of all the procured raw materials from the nature that is subjected to the extrusion machine or the extruder chamber. And the second process is the shearing process. Shearing means subjecting those set of premixed ingredients against constant pressure in extreme heat and temperature, or with the increased pressure in the compression section of the extruder chamber, so that all those premixed ingredients gets mixed properly and homogenized properly. Now this shearing phenomena is, as you date back to the basics of the fluid mechanics and all, or physics and all, you can understand that what shearing is actually stress versus strain, or stress by strain ratio is known as the shearing stress and shearing strain. That is the development of the stress by strain, or the stress and strain, stress versus strain ratio or phenomena in the material, that is movement of layer of a particular material against the layer of against an underlying layer of that same particular material, is what is called shearing stress by strain. That is also known as shearing stress and also known as shearing strain. Now if you calculate the stress by strain, you can get those Bulk's modulus, Young's modulus, and all those phenomena that were present in fluid mechanics and stuffs and all. So this shearing is nothing but that particular thing which happens in this case of food material within the extrusion chamber. And after that we have heating. Heating means addition of external heat, or the heat development within the extrusion chamber due to the increase in extreme pressure, which helps in melting the premixed ingredients and converting the complex molecular chemistry into simpler ones that can be consumed and digested by the human beings as well as the animals. And then comes pumping. Pumping means subjecting or projecting the set of premixed ingredients against an orifice or die from the extrusion chamber outward into the outer atmosphere, where sudden expansion happens and the heat gets dissipated. The excess heat that is developed within the extrusion chamber, once it comes out along with the food material out of the extrusion chamber, the heat gets dissipated. And the fifth one is forming. Forming means in the die or the orifice there is some constrained or limited volume or diameter of the die through which the entire premixed ingredients are being forced outside. Now in order to form or give that specific shape or format to the set of premixed ingredients that is needed. And last but not least, sizing or molding means cutting the formed ingredients in equal sizes and shapes in order to maintain or conform the packaging constraints as well as the qualitative dimensions that is charted by the standard operating procedure by the industries in order to pack it and market it. And this extrusion chamber or extrusion process also includes another science called plasticizing. Plasticizing is a condition termed as food melting. Food melting means the conversion of the complex molecular chemistry into simpler molecular chemistry by the process of gradual homogenization where the food materials or the substances starts developing a slurry or paste kind of appearance, like we have the spreading capability in case of butter. So it creates that slippery or smooth kind of glutinous appearance, which is known as plasticizing. And obviously this process is a high temperature short time process where the temperature ranges from 80 to 180 degrees Celsius, and almost often the temperature rises to 200 degrees Celsius with moisture content less than 15%. And the mixture within the extrusion chamber is known as extrudate. The raw ingredients ranges from almost cereals and grains, then vegetables, fruits, and legumes and pulses, then oleaginous plants. Apart from this, boiled meat is there, boiled fish and poultry products there, like egg is there, and drupes, nuts, berries, all these things can also be subjected to the extrusion chamber. And the historical background of this extrusion process dates back to almost 1870, where the first minced meat extrusion was started back in Chicago, which is known as a sausage, which is one of the most delicious and popular street snacks or street food out in the market globally, as well as a very mouth-watering dish or savory that is a mouth-watering dish that is served with savories, and which is having a quite improved kind of savory to create a sensation of create a good soothing sensation or comfortable, delicate sensation while consuming it. And it is also available out in the restaurants, as we all know. That it's a pretty common product that is available, and it's date back to 1870, where first in Chicago, the slaughterhouse of the world, the minced meat production started, and the minced meat were being amalgamed in order to produce a sausage. And then in late 1930, the pasta came into being, and in 1950, the boiled meat and minced meat along with fish were being served through the extrusion chamber in order to produce the feed pellets for pets like dogs and cats. So these are some of the extruded products, like the pasta, swirls, then rings, popcorns, macaronis, all these things, and then the kurkures or the chips and all, the rings that are made from the toasted rings or the fried rings, or toppings that are made from the starch grains or the beans and all, legumes and protein bars and all. And apart from this, sweet meats like toppings, nuts, toasted peanuts, then candy sticks, bologna candies, morels, truffles, nougats, etc. All these things that are used commonly in the desserts and ice creams nowadays are also created, and the chocos, cornflakes, and all these things are all the byproduct of the extruder science, or they are made by this extrusion machine only. Now, if I ask you to have a kind of protein supplement or a health supplement combining all the vegetative parts of the plant body, specifically the nutritious parts of the fruits and all, and also to some extent the phytochemicals of the plant, like the secondary alkaloids, the anthocyanin, polyphenols, and resins, added in some supplementary quantity or external addition, it is being done along with those fruits and all. And if I tell you to have a nutraceutical bar or a nutraceutical tablet or a capsule which might serve for a particular ailment, to strike that or target that particular downregulated physiological response within the human body, or that particular ailment, in order to cure that illness or disease particularly, then how can we get that entire thing in the form of capsule in a very low dose, and along with a high strength and efficacy or potency to bind with that particular particular metabolic pathway or particular ion channel pathway, or that particular enzymatic pathway or particular protein targeting pathway that can inhibit the adverse or detrimental effect that is going on along with the physiological process in our body that is manifesting or aiding in a particular illness development or a syndrome development. So in that case, if we want to have that particular nutraceutical tablet or a nutraceutical supplement, or even if a protein bar or a calorie bar, whatever it is, like those are being given for the astronauts up in the ISS or International Space Stations, those are nothing but the product of extrusion chamber, because all these things can be readily given up around the table in different plates. But if you want to have this in one plate, then extruder is that only alternate solution to have these things entirely amalgamed and concentrated into a single dose or a single bite. That is what the science of extrusion is, and that is what it's bingo, and that's how it has turned the checkmate in the entire food processing domain. And after this, let's come to the working principle of the extrusion machine. In working principle, first we have the food ingredients within the extrusion chamber are subjected to high shear, like I said, and temperature and pressure for a short period of time. This helps to transform the ingredients from solid powders to a melt state inside the extruder within residence time. Residence time is a terminology which is known as the time with which the premixed ingredients resides within the extrusion chamber before they are being subjected or propelled outside. And the next step is the melted ingredients are then forced through a die at the end of the extruder into the atmosphere. The melt coming out of the extruder encounters a sudden drop in pressure, resulting in rapid expansion as well as a decrease in temperature. A condition termed as expansion ratio. Expansion ratio is, let me describe you the terminology of expansion ratio. Expansion ratio is nothing but during the compression section or in the food melting or plasticizing section within the extrusion chamber, there is an extreme heat and temperature or pressure buildup within the extrusion chamber. And now once the mixture of the set of premixed ingredients of the mixture comes out in the form of the final extruded product out from the extrusion chamber, then the excess heat developed within the within those premixed ingredients or the slurry of the formed ingredients, or the excess pressure that is being incorporated or developed within the slurry of the premixed food ingredients or the raw ingredients within the extrusion chamber, that suddenly dissipates in the outer atmosphere right when the slurry comes out of the extrusion chamber. Okay, and when that heat and pressure gets dissipated, the entire slurry that is coming out in a particular form or shape from the extrusion chamber through the die or orifice, it expands or it puffs out. This condition is known as puffing, and there are some puffed food products and snacks that are readily available out in the market. These are nothing but sort of extruded products only. And the final step in this procedure is the final quality and texture of the extruded product depends on various factors, including the ingredient mixture and its properties, extrusion process conditions, and post-processing condition. Post-processing condition means you can either have the extruded product in a single run to eat it directly from the packet, or you can have it in further processing like boiling in the water or frying it in oil or serving it with other recipes, or you can follow the guidelines that are given in the back of the packet or the label of the packet in order to prepare it for a proper consumable or palatable style or fashion. You can have those things like we have the packet of noodles, like we have the macaroni packet, like we have ready to serve cereal packets like the instant rice and instant nuggets and all those things. Their flow chart has been given behind the packet in the level of the packet, that how to prepare in the palatable format just right before consuming it. So you can give a quick run or quick go through thoroughly through all these labels and all these constraints or the parameters that have been given there, and you can process which is known as the post-processing. You can process that prior to the eating condition. Now this is what a rough diagram of extruder looks like. The first portion is here the engine, which consists of the armature and the motor. The second one is the feed hopper through which the set of premixed ingredients are fed within the extrusion chamber. The third one is the cooling jacket through which the water is being inserted in the extrusion chamber in order to reduce the excess heat developed or temperature buildup. Fourth one is thermocouple, which consists of the heat sensors, as well as it consists of some bimetallic strips which helps in expanding the barrel of the extrusion chamber at time of need, and as well as contracting the extrusion chamber in order to provide damage of crack or any other further kind of severe accident within the extrusion chamber that might hamper the armature or the motor during the operation process. And six is the barrel. Barrel is the only encasing in which the screw is lying. The fifth one is the screw here. The screw is actually the major part of the extruder machine. Without screw, the extruder is not an extruder, right? So the screw is doing the entire thing, and it is encased within the barrel. 7 is the heating jacket. Heating jacket means if some less heat is developed within the extrusion chamber, then in that case, in order to apply more heat, in order to apply externally more heat, in order to melt the food materials properly, then external heating jacket is being incorporated or aided. And 8 is the head. Head means the very portion like where the dies and the cutter, the mouth of the extruder machine lies, like we have in case or in the human body or in case of any animal body. Along with the head in case of multicellular organisms, specifically having organized nucleus or eukaryotes, we have the mouth with a head, right? A true coelom or body cavity is present in our case, along with the in the body of the chordates or the body of spinal cord based or vertebral column based organisms. So in this case of the extruded machine also, the portion of the head is lying here. In this portion the head is present along with the die or the cutter, in like the same principle. So along with the head, the cutter or the orifice and the dies are fit through which actually acts as the mouth of the extruded machine, through which the entire extruded product comes out in that particular form that is needed. And then this particular blade present here is the cutter, which cuts the formed material into that particular size or equal sizes as per the requisite constraints that we need. And the first section here is the transport section, which helps in transporting the food materials forward. The second one is the compression section, where extreme shear temperature and extreme shear pressure is being developed within the extrusion chamber that helps in cooking the set of premixed ingredients into that consumable format or digestible format. And third one is melting and plasticizing. Melting and plasticizing means melting the set of premixed ingredients totally in the form of slurry or paste, so that it can be consumed or can be digested easily. After this, we have the extruder parts. In extruder parts, the first one is the feeder. Like I explained, all the extruder parts, the feeder is used to continuously feed the mixture into the extruder at a constant rate to ensure consistency. The feeders often feed the material either gravimetrically or volumetrically, and it is possible to use more than one feeder at a time for different ingredients to supply. Next one is the barrel. The barrel encases the screw or a set of screws. Often the barrel is jacketed for heating and for cooling. The barrel may also have various injection ports or additional feeding ports along it. The injection ports may be used for water or other liquid ingredients, while added feeding ports may have additional powder ingredients being forced in through the side of the barrel, so they experience less cooking, bypassing a large section of extruder. And the third one is the screw. The role of the screw is to assist in imparting shear to the ingredient mixture and forcing the dough of the mixed ingredients out of the extruder machine through the die. The screws of the extruders are also responsible for building pressure that occurs at the end of the extruder as well as during the mixture of the ingredients. And the third one is the motor, which provides the energy needed to rotate the screws. As I've said, the motor is actually the only element that is helping or aiding in giving energy for the rotation of the screws, where the armature is present, and the cutter and the knife is present, which cuts the product and usually consists of a set of rotating knives through a variable speed motor. Three-dimensional cutting blades are more sophisticated and need additional knives mounted on proper angles to form three-dimensional cut figures. And the last one is the die, which functions to hold the material in the screws, providing time for the screws to impart shear energy onto the sample. The die also controls the final shape of the product and can be varied tremendously. Now here in this case, the cutter can be present along with the die, or the cutter can be present after the die, and also the cutter can be present before the die. It is developed based on the type of extruder that is being the extruder machine that is being developed for a particular type of product as per the standard operating procedure of the industry, in order to develop the science of that particular product in order to hit the market in a very economic scale. So these things are interchangeable, but all this, the feeder, the barrel, the screw and the motor, all these things are fixed at the positions where they are. So they are totally transfixed, and they are stable and stationed in those positions and not changeable. They cannot be altered in their positions, or they cannot be interchanged among each other in order to harness the proper efficiency or the proper smoothness of the extrusion, proper smoothness of the operation of the extrusion machine. Now, after this comes the process involved in the extrusion. The processes involved in the extrusion are first characterizing and receiving the raw ingredients, in which sorting out the ingredients is a very important and vital phenomena, in which all the best of the best ingredients are being sorted out, and the disease ingredients, or like a vegetable is having a particular disease, or the vegetable is rotten and it is infected with some with some fungal toxins like aflatoxins, mycotoxins and all, or bacteria infected, or any kind of virus infected, and also the raw material is not that much mature or grown in order to have those nutritional or phytonutrient aspects in order to provide that particular taste and efficacy for the final product. So that cannot be taken or considered as a proper or selectable raw material for the extrusion machine. So the characterizing and receiving the raw ingredients is a vital process in the extrusion chamber that is included in the procurement section. And after that, mixing or preconditioning in mixing cylinder. Before subjecting to feed hopper, the preconditioning is being done. The preconditioning is being done with actually the sulfur dioxide as per standardized recommendation of ppm, like in parts per million, sub milligram per liter or microgram per liter. Sulfur dioxide or any other antimicrobial agents or any other antifungal or toxin destroying agents like the potassium metabisulfite or sodium metabisulfite, as well as it has been given, like it is given in 0.02 milligram per liter. That is what the measurement is as per is it mentioned. It's mentioned by as per the FAO standards in the FAO guideline or handbook. It is mentioned. Now in this preconditioning section, not only this antifungal or antimicrobial or anti-germicidal actions are being incorporated, but also the preconditioning system is also done by mixing the ingredients with the water as well as lubricants like oils or some additives and all those things in order to have certain other beneficial effects like taste enhancement and color development and protection of the phytonutrients with edible coatings and all, or some propellants and all, so that it can create, or glazing agents and all, so that it can create a smooth coating over the molecular structures of the food materials in order to protect the phytonutrients or the functional compounds against the extreme temperature that is developed within the extrusion machine. And the third one is feeding them into the barrel where the feed screw conveys the feed, and the fourth one is cooking, where the raw ingredients are transformed into the cooked and the formed products. The cooking section generally lies within the compression section where the major cooking happens. And the fifth one is cutting the extruded products into appropriate sizes, drying the products to the desired moisture, and last but not the least, seasoning or coating to provide the desired flavor and taste to the products before they go for packaging. And in the last section also, the edible coating to the products have been given along with some food additives or seasonings like tastemakers and all also been given, and the seasoning and coating can also been given directly to the extruded product, or can be given in an external sachet like we have in the packet of the noodles and all. Commonly that is present in the packet of noodles, or some instant rice, instant nuggets, or some instant ready to eat or ready to cook noodles packet that are coming in the aluminum foils and all out in the market, which are being supplied with sauces and seasonings, which are given externally in a separate sachet or in a separate aluminum foil packet. Okay, so the seasonings or the coatings can be given directly on the extruded product, or they can be supplied with an external packet along with the extruded product. After that, we have the types of extruders. The types of extruders mainly based on the temperature of the operation. There are cold extruder, where gentle mixing without heating is being done directly within the barrel. Example, pasta, noodles, spaghetti, macaroni, etc. are being subjected to cold extrusion, because if hot extrusion is being done, then too much food melting would result, which would not helping formation of that hard consistency of these pastas, noodles, spaghettis and macaronis. And in case of hot extrusion, mixing at high pressure is being done to produce altered texture and consistency. In case of ready to eat, ready to serve and ready to cook, feed pellets, pet foods, infant foods, breakfast cereals, instant functional foods, protein bars, snacks, etc. all these things are being done. As for common example, we have chocos, then the cornflakes and all, the oats, oat bars and all, the sorghum bars and all, and the Quaker oats for the cholesterol patients and cholesterol high patients. Okay, so these are all the things that are being present for the these are the types of the extruders that are present generally in the industries that are functional and working. So apart from this, the types of extruders that are present are wet extrusion machine and dry extrusion machine. In the wet extrusion machine, the moisture content is almost 20 to 30% within the extrusion chamber, or it might be max to max, it might be 40% when the vegetables and fruits basically are subjected for extrusion. And in case of dry extrusion, the date palms, the exudates like the drupes and the berries and the nuts, all these things which are having a high protein content or starch content, very little percentage of water content is present. In those cases, externally water is being added through the cooling jacket or the feeding jacket within the extrusion chamber, where the water content ranges max to max up to 20%, but not more than that. Okay, that is called the dry extrusion. And now we have, based on mechanism, what are the types of extrusion? This diagram that we're seeing right here is actually single screw extruder. Now, what is a single screw extruder? The single screw extruders are actually having a constant pitch. The encasing, the inner surface of the barrel of the single screw extruders have axial or helical grooves. Because in a major drawback in the single screw extruder is due to the presence of single screw extruder, the processing is almost incomplete and it is very much fast, but not a radical approach in sense for a proper mixing. So often the set of mixed ingredients are recycled within the extrusion chamber, and so the cost of unit operation is little bit higher, or I must say it is higher in when we are going to have a particular product, a pellet size product, or a tablet size product, or very very small size products and all, like the noodles that are out in the market, like the chips and all out there, the ready to eat breakfast cereals or instant foods out in the market, whatever these things are. If we want to have that, then in that case the single screw extruder is not beneficial, because in that case the recycling of the product is being done. Only the single screw extruder is very much beneficial for producing the confectionery items, the soft items, like the from the fruits and the vegetables and all those things, the lozenges, jellies and gummy bears and all, the marshmallows, all these things which are extruded. The single screw extruder is beneficial for that one particular product. Now, the amount of decreasing pitch within the single screw extruder is known as compression ratio. Compression ratio is actually in course of the screw, in course of the entire length of the screw of extruder chamber, we can see that the distance between two successive grooves or two successive turns of the screw is gradually decreasing, starting from the motor. Starting from this section, this is the motor, and this is actually the section where the dies and the cutters, the head or the mouth portion of the extruder machine is present. Now, starting from this motor area directly towards this die or the cutter area, the distance between the gauges of the screws, or the grooves of the screws, or the turns of the screws are decreasing. Why the distance between these turns decreases? In order because this will rather decrease the pitch. Pitch means one particular turn, the distance between two successive turns, or one particular turn which is forming two circular turns or circular grooves on the screw, on the metal rod. Okay, so that pitch generally decreases in order to increase the compression ratio so that the food can be melted or plasticized properly. Now, through this transition section, where the rotating action of the screw conveys the material, that is called the transition section. Through this transition section, the screw becomes shallower and the material is compacted more and more. Now, a major portion of this mechanical energy is dissipated in this section, which results in the rise in temperature of the material. And finally, the extruded product comes out of the die opening. The barrels of single screw extruded of helical or axial grooves rise, I said, in the inner surfaces. And in most cases, the single screws used in case of the single screw extruders have constant pitch. Okay, in some cases they have the pitch length or the pitch size decreasing gradually, like I explained right now, only towards the head portion, okay, or the mouth portion of the extruder machine. And after this we have a twin screw extruder. This is what a twin screw extruder in modern industries look like. This is the control panel, this is the extrusion chamber, here lies the feed hopper, this is the cutter or the blade fit along with the die or the orifice, and this is actually the portion where the pomace or the slurry or the waste of the food materials are being collected. So this is some sort of advanced kind of extrusion machine where the melted or unplasticized part of the food material, like that of the fruits or vegetable pomace, are being collected, or the husks of the cereals and grains, nuts and berries are being collected in this particular chamber. And now the working principle of the twin screw extruder is a little bit advanced compared to the single screw extruder. The twin screw extruders are a little bit more time consuming because they have reverse thread facility. Like this, two screws are rotating in counterclockwise direction, and they have reverse thread, so that the mixing is intensive and they take a longer residence time before the delivery of the final product. But unlike the single screw extruder machine, the barrel of these twin screw extruders are not grooved or not pitched inside. Okay, because due to the presence of two screws, the absence of these grooves, or the absence of the axial grooves within the barrel or the gauges inside the wall of the barrel of single screw extruder are being manifested or compensated by the presence of two screws in the single screw extruders. So the twin screw extruders have the screws in the form of intermeshing or non-intermeshing format, that is, the gauges or the turns of the screws are interlocking with each other, and they may be co-rotating or counter-rotating. The co-rotating is more frequently used as it can impart more mechanical energy into the materials than the counter-rotating screws. So that is what the thing is. There is a particular science that the co-rotating screws, that is the rotation occurring in the same direction, in the same clockwise or anti-clockwise manner, can tumble the food or toss the food material or the set of premixed ingredients within the extrusion chamber more dynamically compared to the counter-rotating screws. And so the ingredients are thoroughly mixed and further processed into before they are passed into other zones of the extrusion chamber. Okay. And so these are the advantages of the another advantage is this twin screw extruder can be operated in a large expansion of moisture content, where the moisture content is 30 to 40% almost. So in this case, the moisture content, like in case of the dry extruded products like the berries, nuts and all, drupes and all, or the cereals and pulses and all, we can add water externally or supply any external moisture from the outer atmosphere or outer ingredients in the form of solution or any chemical solution that is being needed by mixing the set of additives or the seasonings or the whatever food additives we want to meet the requirement. We can add that with the water solution, or salt solution can be added in order to enhance the taste and some antifungal or antimicrobial property of the food materials or the set of premixed ingredients which are totally raw, only just preconditioned. Now in that case, what would happen is, in the extrusion chamber we can have, in the twin screw extruder we can have 30 to 40% of the moisture content, whereas in case of single screw extruder, where the fruits and vegetable contents have been given, where the moisture content was almost 20%, and somehow if the moisture content is more, then the excess of the water is being drained out, or in case of single screw extruder I'm telling, the excess of water is drained out, or in some cases what happened, the excess water from the single screw extruder is compensated by removing a form of the set of premixed ingredients in order to keep in balance the moisture content within the extrusion chamber, so that the moisture content does not arise above 20%. Alright, so these are the pros and cons of the single screw and twin screw extruders. And the applications of the extrusion chamber are for formation of the breadcrumbs, the toasted breadcrumbs like the croton breads out in the market, the bland toasts and all, pre-cooked starches, anhydrous decrystallization of the sugar to make confectionaries, chocolate conching, and pre-treated malt and starch for brewing, stabilization of the rice bran, gelatin, gel confectionaries, caramel licorice, gum, chewing gum, corn and potato snack, co-extruded snacks with internal filling, fat crisp bread, biscuits, crackers, cookies, pre-cooked flours, instant rice puddings, instant cereals, functional food, oil-seed meals, soya-based protein bars, pre-cooked soya flours, preparation of specific doughs, quick cooking pasta products, flavor encapsulation, degemination of spices, sterile cheese processes, animal feeds and fodders, texturized vegetable proteins, various other kind of extruded products are readily available out in the market, and they have dynamically ranged from the human to the animal consumption that has way more shaped the food processing industries in a very time effective and very economic scale. And last but not the least, we have the advantages of the extrusion process. The advantages of extrusion process is versatility. We can have ready to eat, ready to serve, ready to cook food products. Then the high output, specifically in case of the single screw extruder, the output is high, but in case of the twin screw extruder, the efficiency is more higher. And the destruction of the anti-nutritional factors happens due to the excess buildup of temperature of about 130 to 145 degrees Celsius within the extrusion chamber, and almost the temperature ranges to about 200 degrees Celsius, like I mentioned in the introduction slide. So the destruction of anti-nutrition factors and toxins happens. Then inactivation of the microbial load by reduction of the water activity. The water activity finally ranges to 0.1 to 0.4 within the food product finally given. And the preservation of the bioactive compounds for the instant functional foods are being present. And after that, the product quality, modified physicochemical changes are being present, and the reduced cost operation are being given. So the reduced cost is nothing but, in case of the twin screw extruders, the efficiency is higher. We can have bulk output. There is no need of recycling the product, unlike the single screw extruder. So the cost of unit operation in case of twin screw extruder is a little bit less compared to the single screw extruder, whereas in case of single screw extruder, in one batch operation or one batch setup, it has to be recycled quite a number of times or quite a bunch of times in order to have that final desired product that is meeting the conformations of the total quality dimensions. And the product quality is modified physicochemical changes happens within the product, the alteration of the starches, realignment of the starch and proteins and all these things happens, so that they can give an altered consistency to the product, particularly which happens in case of chocolate conching, which I mentioned in the application side. And the preservation of the bioactive compounds and of the instant functional foods like the baby foods and all, weaning foods and all, are very much evident in case of this extrusion machine. So these are all the applications of and advantages of extrusion process. Now there is certain dynamism or dynamic outcome in the case of modified physicochemical changes. Particularly a mystery is underlying this particular point, that modified physicochemical changes, that how the physicochemical changes are modified simply within the extrusion chamber without adding any external ingredient or edible chemicals within the extrusion chamber. I'm going to discuss that right up in another video tutorial, so please stay tuned to catch up with that video tutorial right when it comes up in my channel. And so for that, positively subscribe this channel and share this video as much as possible. And also you can write down or take down the notes from this particular video tutorial if you particularly feel that it is very much important or beneficial for your studies, particularly for syllabus oriented or externally out of syllabus oriented. If you want to have that extra knowledges on this bunch of details and all, or a couple of details and all, you can have that thing. And also you can also share your thought processes, whatever it is. You can share your knowledges if you know some extra points and all, and drop down in the comment box right below the video tutorial and share it as much as possible. So last but not the least, again, please do subscribe this channel so that when I post up another video or tutorial regarding this extrusion or any other video tutorial or update, you don't miss out instantly right when it comes up in my channel. Class dismissed.